Hi, this is Coley Bryce with the Eastport Music Festival, and we're here today with Vicki Shields of a new band that I'm also involved in, gratefully, Joint Effort. How you doing today, Vicki? Tell us a little bit about how Joint Effort came to be, and we'll get into some background about your life as a songwriter.
Okay, well, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for asking. Joint effort kind of came about. Uh, I had just recently come back into music after many years of not really playing out anywhere, and had started with a few friends last year with a band called the Honeybees, which you joined.
Yeah, there was a good buzz about that band.
Yeah, that was oh, it was a fun time, a little more jazzy standards and stuff like that. And anyway, we kind of uh, things kind of sizzled out there, and I was at a party over at the Fullerton's house, and I listened to Tim, who's our drummer, and Danny, who's our bass player and vocalist, and they were just jamming, and they just sounded so good, and I ended up kind of playing with them a little bit, and we were just like, this is so cool. And then we kind of started to get together and thought, it would be really cool if we could get a lead guitarist, and I thought of you. And so basically, it was just a bunch of friends having a jam session and kind of going, this is really cool. We're having so much fun. Let's see if we can do something here. And I actually came up with the name. It was the very first name of a band I was in high school.
Is that right?
Yeah, and so it seemed to really fit that group.
So, what does the name mean to you?
Well, it's kind of it
Seems
means
like a bit of a play on words.
well, it is kind of a play on words, of course. Of course, when I was in high school, I grew up in California. Joints were kind of a thing that was out and about or whatever, but this was a kind of a play on words because it's kind of JOYNT, and it's about being joyful and joining together and creating some kind of, I don't know, whatever. What would you call it? Just some kind of fun. It's all about, for me, music is about
Building a musical tribe.
definitely, perfectly answered. So that's basically how Joint Effort came about.
So these songs we've been recording, like for instance, Shambhala, which is actually originally titled Holographic Story, where did that come from? These songs, do you sit with a rhyming dictionary and sit there and play with the words, or do they just kind of like come to you?
They kind of just come to me. I was lucky to have my family a couple of years ago. The kids and my husband got together and bought me an electric guitar, and then a year after that, my husband got me a microphone and an amp so I could plug in, and I just have a little section in this new edition that we have, and I would just sit there, and all of a sudden, after 40 years, I just started writing songs again. So, I mean, it just very much, the words just kind of came to me.
So you actually took that much time off?
Oh, yeah.
So you just lived a whole life, raised a family, you've lived in some interesting parts of the country. What's a background that created that kind of
Okay.
the well that you're diving into to unearth these songs?
Well, I'm a California girl, so I grew up in the Bay Area of California.
When?
And came to my prime in the late 70s. And in the 70s, the music was awesome, of course.
That must have been an interesting and inspiring place to be.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. And like I say, I was in a band called Joint Effort in high school, and from there I kind of went into some other genres and ended up having a girlfriend from high school that went to Kodiak, Alaska. So after a couple of years, she got me to go up there, and I went up there and played music up there. Ended up going on the road with a band that was playing in Alaska. We went down to Juneau and down through Oregon.
What was the difference between, because, California, I mean, I know the Bay Area's got a slightly grittier vibe than, say, Hollywood or LA or whatever, but still there must have been some culture shock going from the relative, mellowness of the Bay scene to slugging it out in Alaska.
Oh, yeah. well, not musically, but just life-wise, it was a culture shock for me.
But do you think that informed your music as well?
Oh, sure. I think it did. I mean, I wrote a song, I was still writing songs back then, and wrote quite a few songs in Alaska. And then after about a year, I met my husband, and after we were together, I was still playing a little bit, pretty much on my own. And then, life kind of happened. We had kids, and I just kind of lost touch. And I still loved music, but I wasn't really out there playing it.
It's interesting, living here in Eastport full-time for 7 years now, there are places that are almost like sister cities or destinations along the Vibe Trail that Eastport is on. Like, for instance, there's a very famous artist that lives in Perry, Richard Van Buren, and he's got 3 shows going on simultaneously right now. One is in Manhattan, one is in San Francisco, and one is in Dennisville.
Mm-hmm.
And I always find it interesting how this tiny little area always attracts such eclectic, esoteric, kind of eccentric souls. And you're not the first person that's had time in Kodiak that's come through here.
I know, that's interesting, isn't it?
I find it very fascinating.
Yeah. Well, Kodiak's one of those places too, like here, like exactly what you're saying. Just so many eclectic people from all over the world kind of were there when I was there in the late, I think I went up to Kodiak in 1977. And it was just a wild and crazy frontier, and
just attracts a certain type of soul.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. People that like adventures. There was a lot of Kodiak's a fishing community, just kind of like Eastport.
Mm-hmm.
So there was always that, and
but yet it has an inspired kind of artist population too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. It's kind of like the lone wolves that kind of get together and create.
Right, like shepherding cats.
Yeah, definitely.
People that don't like to be with anyone else but can tolerate other rugged individuals.
Yeah, exactly. Open-minded, very open-minded people, very accepting. That was the thing that was so cool about...
But I'd also imagine also very self-resilient.
Oh, totally. I mean, you were stuck on an island. Here you're on an island, but you've got a causeway. Kodiak, you're on an island. The only way off that island is by boat or airplane.
Wow.
And you got to cross the Shelikof Strait to do that, so...
And then you left Kodiak and went to...
Left Kodiak, and we moved down. I got to choose it, and we ended up moving down to North Carolina, which was quite another culture shock. But I had, if you ever lived in Alaska, it is not only the most beautiful place, but the weather can kind of not be that great all the time. And, it just kind of, after 11 years or so, it was just time to move on. Fishing was changing. They were coming out with IFQs, and so it was, we were ready to go, and we wanted to go before the kids really got to an age where it would be a lot more difficult. So I got to choose, and I chose North Carolina mainly because of all the movies that I was watching from North Carolina, and I thought, oh, these trees look so beautiful, and the weather looks always so wonderful. Didn't really know it was going to be as hot and humid.
Right, you always have a thirst for what you don't have.
Definitely.
And then you're thinking back and longing for what...
Totally. The funny part is we lived in Southport, North Carolina, and in Brunswick County, and then we moved to Eastport, Maine, by New Brunswick. So kind of kismet there.
One of your songs is, I believe, inspired by your husband, Dan.
Yeah, the manly man.
Tell us a little bit about Dan. He seems to be a reoccurring subject in these songs.
Yeah, he's a pretty special guy.
He seems like it.
He is. We've been together since we were 21, and we're a little bit older than that now, let's just say. And he's just a really, really awesome guy who has always, backed me in anything I wanted to do, and he's just the number one fan. He's just loving this reemergence of my music coming out, and I don't know, he makes a good subject.
Well, I'll tell you, as a fellow man, he's one of those guys when you shake his hand, he'll look you right in the eye, and you can feel the full depth of his character.
Definitely,
And that's sadly an increasingly rare trait. So I commend him on that, and your fine choice of a manly man.
Well, thank you so very much. I kind of like him.
That's good. It helps.
Still
in
keeping him
long-term
keeping him around. I mean, it's like any marriage or any kind of long-term relationship. You have your ups and downs, but
Oh yeah.
we've both the kids are off and grown and living their own lives, and we've kind of come back together and are both retired pretty much now, or working a little bit here and there, and just enjoying life up in Maine, the way it's supposed to be, or what is that saying? The way life should be.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah.
So, in addition to, I guess one of the things I notice about your songwriting is it seems to be very observational. Like you've distilled your life experiences and you're trying to kind of express your personal insights and wisdom through these songs.
Well, thank you. Well, I think any writer kind of writes about what they know or what they've experienced or what they hope to be. And those are kind of the themes that I don't know, just come out of me lately. A lot of kind of not spiritualistic so much as just wanting to bring hope. And
I would say there's a definite cosmic spiritual kind of vibe to the message in a lot of the songs.
Definitely. Well, I've studied astrology for over 35 years, and I've always been into that. As people who know me will tell you, the other side of life or whatever. So that kind of comes to play a lot in.
So some of your songwriting is informed by some of your spiritual and personal philosophical insights and beliefs.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially the Shambhala. That's just what I kind of believe. So it just kind of came out like that.
What do you like about the band as it is now with your current lineup? What do you like?
Oh, I love the band. I kind of handpicked these people. I was sort of like, I if I could put a band together, what would I want? And I would just wanted, because I wanted to expand more, because I've done many different genres in my early career and throughout. I started out in folk music with a singing partner acoustically, and then went from there into a rock and roll kind of bluesy band, and then from there kind of went into the stand-up jazz standards, and so I like all different kinds of music, and I think
it kind of brings it all together.
Yeah,
slivers
definitely,
of everything.
Definitely. There's each one of these people bring their own blend to the pot.
Well, we will see you Sunday,
Sounds
August
great.
11th.
All right.
11 a.m. joint effort featuring myself, my son Elijah Bryce, Tim Fullerton on drums, Danny Marshall on bass, and of course you, Vicki, on guitar and lead vocals.
Well, thank you so much.
Anything else you want to say to our
No,
rabid listeners?
I just hope everybody comes out and sees this beautiful Eastport Music Festival that the Bryces have really done a lot of work to put together, and I think it's going to be really successful, and I'm very proud of both of you.
Well, thank you so much.
You bet.
I'll see you at the gig.
Awesome. See you then.
Take us back in history so we can see a story. Deep inside the mysteries we will find the glory. When words were only spoken, passed down in firelight, the chain was not yet broken, the future was so bright. As time was set in motion, a game was set in play, actors acting on a stage, and time was stuck one day. Elders held in high respect, through wisdom tongues they told the tale, how light and sound created life, and